Great. So we have been able to look at few importance of decision making. The first one is that it helps us to solve problems. It also helps us to achieve our goals or objectives. And then third, it helps us to efficiently manage our resources. And I think that was the point where a few of you shared your thoughts that you make a choice based on the resources available, right? Had it not been for that process of the choice making, you would have probably committed your resources to something that will not yield any proper benefit. Okay. The last two importance we'll look at is risk management and effective leadership and management, right? So I think I would employ one of you to do the reading for me as you see on the screen. Who is going to do this reading for me? Let me see. Prof. Michael Ajemai, please. I want to hear your voice. So. Prof. Mike. Okay, great. So point 4, read point 4 for us. Risk management. What does it say? Hey, Prof. Mike, who do Fufuana? If your mouth is busy, let me know so that I don't bother you at least until you are done. Okay. Let me see the next person. I see a Zoom user. Please, can you edit your name to your full name for me? Prof. Josephine, let me hear you on this one. In fact, read for us and probably you can add your understanding. Risk management, one of the importance of decision making.
Okay, sir. Risk management. Decisions taken involve some level of risk. Effective decision making includes assessing potential risks and making choices that minimize negative impacts while maximizing benefits in organizations.
Okay, so what's your understanding of this, Prof?
Okay, please, my understanding is it is whereby people, managers take risks in in making decisions. They go ahead to they try to make decisions that will like let them shun away from negative things, but rather maximize benefits.
Okay, thank you, Josephine. Prof. Portia Jakuma, I want to hear you on this one.
Okay, sir. That please, good morning.
Morning.
So, sir, the importance of decision making, as stated, is effective leadership and management. Okay, if the business have an effective leadership and management, they are able to make good decision making, which can guide them in making the right choice, the right alternative, which will help benefit not just the business but themselves too.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So the two professors have expressed their thoughts on these 2 points. Now I'll take the first one, which is risk management. What is risk management? Risk is a potential loss or danger, right? Which an individual or an organization may face. So, for example, if you are a driver, then there's that potential risk or danger of you having an accident and getting your leg, off, unfortunately, right? If you are a student, you have the potential danger of failing your exams, right? So, if we talk about risk management, it simply means doing all possible to either avoid that danger or manage the effect of that danger. Okay, how can you do that? You can only do that by making choices out of various options. So with the scenario I gave about a student, if you're a student, you suffer the potential danger or loss of failing, you're getting an F9 in, for example, business management. Okay, so that is a risk. How do you manage it? You can use decision making to manage this risk. Why? Because you can make choices. You can either make a choice of reading every day, or you can make the choice of not reading. Okay. Now, before you arrive at this choice, you would have done all the analysis, weigh the pros and cons before arriving at that. So we are saying when you take decisions, if you make choices in a way, it will help you to manage your potential losses or dangers in life. Now, the fifth point, effective leadership and management. Who is a leader? An individual or groups of individuals who are steering the affairs of an organization to achieve a specific goal. How can you be an effective leader? You'd have to take decisions. And so it is right to say that decision making would help you become a good or an effective leader or management. Okay, professors, any questions up to this point? Any question? Any question? I think there are several importance, but we'll look at this 5 for now and move on to our next agenda for the morning, and that is the tools for decision making, the tools for decision making. So if there are no questions about the importance, I think I'll dig straight through the tools for decision. What are tools for decision making? Professors, they are simply the methods or frameworks or techniques. The technique you use to make a decision, that is a tool for decision making. What method are you using to take that decision or to make that choice? Okay, and we'll look at these methods very soon. So it says decision-making tools are essential methods or frameworks used by managers and business leaders to analyze options, forecast outcomes, and make informed choices. Okay, so the decision tool is the method or the framework. In fact, if it were to be mathematics, then we would have gotten specific methods. For example, if you want to solve a simultaneous equation, you might either use the elimination method or substitution method. If you are dealing with a quadratic equation, you can use the method of completing squares or the almighty formula, right? So the method you use in arriving at a decision, that is the tool for decision making. And we have several of them. In fact, I'll introduce you to a few of them. We'll pick some and go into details what they mean. Some of them are, one, we have pros and cons list. And this one, I'll seek the opinions of my professors because you have heard this in pros and cons, pros and cons, pros and cons. So this is a method you can use, pros and cons method. Professors, do you have any idea of these pros and cons? In fact, let me just chip in that Michael was enjoying his food. That's why he couldn't respond to my question. So he said he will respond when he's done. Michael, let me know when you are done. Okay, but pros and cons, what's your view about this pros and cons? Before we look at how it is a method you can use to take a decision. Pros and cons. Prof. Janelle.
So please, it helps us to weigh the advantage and disadvantage of the business.
Okay. So she puts some two words, advantages and disadvantages. Because pros is synonymous to advantages and cons are disadvantages, right? So what this simple tool or method is about is the fact that if you have to choose one option out of various options, you'd have to look at the advantages and disadvantages of each of the options, and that is the pros and cons. Now, when you were choosing senior high schools, you had various options. You could have been in Adisadel, Infante Pims, St. Augustine's, Ghana National, all the. These are all options that you could choose. If you use the pros and cons method, which I think majority of you did, then what you went through was that if you pick at this school or at Adisadel College, you looked at the advantages and disadvantages of being in Adisadel College. You do same for all the other schools. And then based on that, you can see that, no, this is the best choice I have to make. So that's the pros and cons method. You compare the advantages and disadvantages. And what you see here, you weigh the benefits and the drawbacks. Drawbacks are the constraints or the disadvantages. So if it's between Infinix and iPhone, you weigh the pros and cons of iPhone and Infinix before you make that choice. For me, I went for Infinix because one of the pros is that it is less expensive compared to the iPhones. I hope that is clear. The next method you can use is called SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis. And my professors who were here in the previous vacation, I think, appreciate this. SWOT analysis. Now, this is a tool that was designed by a scholar, okay? And it simply means that organizations would have to look at their strength, and that is the S. The W is their weaknesses. The O is opportunities, and the T is threats. Even as human beings, even as professors, as individual as we are, we should know our strength, our weaknesses, opportunities that we have, and things that may pose danger, that's the threat to us. If you use this analysis, you can be able to make the right decision or right choice. For example, I want to be a footballer in Africa. It will be very essential that if I use this tool, which is called a SWOT analysis, I should be able to determine my strength. And so what are some of the strengths of a footballer? You need to know, do I have that strength? Weaknesses, what are my weaknesses? What opportunities do I have in the continent I find myself? And what are the possible threats? So if you pick this football scenario I'm using, as a footballer, you should have some strength like, being able to dribble, being able to withstand some opposition or, pressure. Okay, because if you are playing the ball, somebody can just push you now. If you fall down, that's not a good footballer. You should have that strength. You should be agile enough to withstand some pressure. Then you look at your weaknesses. Are you having an eye problem? Are you asthmatic? So the strengths and weaknesses are more or less like internal within the organization. And then opportunities, and threats. What opportunities do you have as a footballer in Ghana? Can you play in the Division 2 or Premier League? Or would you be part of the national team? These are all opportunities you need to think about. And then the threats. What are the threats? You have other people who are also very good footballers. It's another threat. You have defenders who want to break your leg. It's a threat. So as a business, if you use this tool in making decisions, then what you are simply doing is you assess your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities available to you, and some of the threats, so that you can make the best choice. So for example, if you want to sell cocaine in this country, your SWOT analysis will tell you that no, there are threats to that business, and one of them is the law. The law does not permit such a substance to be sold in Ghana. And so using the SWOT analysis, you can tell that no, you cannot sell cocaine here. Okay, please, any question, and I hope you really appreciate this SWOT analysis. The next one is multi-voting. Multi-voting, I don't think we need to waste time on this. Multi-voting method. So this, what you do is you give the options and allow people to vote to make their choice. And I think this is more, seen in a choice of prefects, members of parliament and all that. You vote to decide which option is better. Okay. Let's look at other tools. We have the decision matrix, the cost-benefit analysis. We have the decision tree. I think we'll go into detail some of these tools. So let me skip them and then we'll pick those that we have to go into details, right? As prescribed by your curriculum. We have the Pareto analysis. Pareto analysis. We have the influence diagram. We have try and error. Try and error. I think some of us have been using this method too in making decisions. I don't know if it's appropriate to say this, but amongst friends, right? Some people do try and error. They try this person, oh, he's a bad friend, then they quit. Oh, this person is a good friend, then they say, okay, fine. So try and error, we have been doing that in our daily lives. Okay, but then let's look at some of these tools in details. And one of them is the Pareto analysis. Pareto analysis. The name sounds interesting. Let's see if indeed it is interesting. One of you should read for me. Pareto analysis. Prof. Carl, I think you do this for me. Prof. Carl. Let me see those who have not spoken yet. Selikem, Prof. King. Yeah, you're on my radar. So, Prof. Carl, can we hear you on what Pareto analysis is? Since Michael was 18, let me assume Carl is also 18. Michael, I'm sure you are done. Can you read for us Pareto analysis? Now, Michael, if you are eating a kind of say elephant meat, he's done. Okay, let's hear you.
Sir, please can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so we have on the screen one of the tools for decision making. That's Pareto analysis, and we want you to read for us and maybe add your understanding. Yeah.
Pareto analysis, open bracket, 80/20 rule analysis. It's a decision-making tool used to consider various factors, weigh their importance, and then select the best alternatives or options. This analysis is based on the principle that 80% of problems come from 20% of costs. To use Pareto analysis, you first list and categorize all the problems. Then you quantify and rank them by their impact, such as cost, frequency, or importance. By focusing on the top 20% of costs that contribute to 80% of the problems, you can address the most significant issues more effectively and improve overall efficiency and effectiveness in decision making. In this case, very important factors in a situation can be identified by targeted problem solving in an organization.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much for that. So, professors, we have read this. What meaning do you make out of it? Pareto analysis. They are saying you do some 80% rule analysis. What is your understanding of what you see on the screen or what you have read? If you can give an example to make it simple for us, we'll appreciate. Who will do that for us? Prof. Ken. Prof. Kentucky. And my new professors, Irama and Prof. Tina Sam, if you can share your understanding of what you see or what you heard Mike read. Pareto analysis. Oh, nobody wants to share his understanding or I understand anyway. You always want the teacher, Mr. Amwa, to talk. No problem. I'll talk. Portia, Josephine, Janelle, would you want to try? Selicum. Okay. Now, if you look at this Pareto analysis, you see, emphasis was made on, okay, Portia, let's hear you. Give us your version.
So please, what I understand by that is it makes a way to focus on the new inputs that will help generate most of the results.
Okay. Okay, sounds interesting. Thank you. Any other? Yeah, Rama. Rama, let me hear you.
Okay. By identifying and focusing on the most significant few causes, you can achieve the greatest overall improvements.
Okay. Thank you. Now, the bit I was able to pick from Portia and Irama is that the focus should be on the causes, okay, which are having greater impact. That's why they give us the percentage 80-20 rule. So it says using the top 20% of causes that contribute to 80% of the problems. So your focus is on the few causes that are giving you major problems. Let me cite an example, right? Let's say you are a restaurant and you probably you prepare, let's say, fufu and abenkwai, right? Fufu and I know some of you don't like it, but some of us we enjoy it. Now, your customers come and then they go, they don't come again. So you identify a problem. Now, what is causing my customers not to come back to patronize my food? Then you begin to go into the causes. 1, is it that the price is high? 2, is it that the pepper is too much? 3, is it that the salt was too much or was not enough? So you look at all these causes and then begin to analyze and see which of the causes is leading to a greater impact. So probably you do the analysis and you realize that, oh, in fact, the price of the food is really not causing the greater percentage of my customers not coming back, but rather it is the salt. Probably on doing the analysis, you realize that you are losing about 90% of your customers because of the salt concentration in your soup. And the other 5% is because the price is high or the pepper was too much. So then you're able to determine that this small cost salt is giving you bigger problems of losing customers. And now that will give you a clear picture as to where to tackle the problem. So you see that, okay, then if it's the salt, this time, this is what I'll do. I'll make the soup not salty, but I'll provide an option for those who want more salt. And so that's why when you go to some restaurants, on the table, you see a pinch of salt in a package somewhere for those who love salt and other one. Okay, so that's a typical scenario of the Pareto analysis. Your focus is on the small things that are giving you big problems. Okay, and I hope that is well understood by my professor. So in exams, if it happens that, state a tool of decision making and explain, you can use the Pareto analysis, which is also known as the 80% rule analysis. The details of this method is that you focus on 20% of causes that contribute to 80% of problems. Okay. In simple terms, what it means is that you focus on the minor causes that lead to greater problems, and you deal with these minor causes. Okay, I think that is okay for us. Thank you. Now let's go into the next one, which is the pest analysis, PEST analysis. Now I'm looking at some of these details because it's detailed in your curriculum that you need to know these decision-making tools. So we've seen Pareto. The next is pest analysis, pest. The pest here also stands for few terms. One of them is political. That's the P, political. E, economic. S is social, and T is technology, right? So these two looks at how many, 1, 2, 3, 4 key things or key factors. So one is about political, one is about economic, one is about social, and one is about technology. So let's look at the political. So we are saying political factors which could impact organization. You have to look at them. Example include political stability, tariffs, trade restrictions, regulations, etc. So if you are using these two to make a decision as a business, then these two would require you to look at the political factors where you find yourself. So in Ghana, you know, there are political policies that affect businesses. You remember when this free SHS was introduced, a lot of private schools had to shut down. So what it means is that if the private schools use the pest analysis during their decision making of setting up a private school, they would have realized that there's a potential that a government policy or a political policy would impact them. And probably they would have gone in for the option of private sector engagement, where the school is not solely private, but the government also has an influence. Okay. But most of them, they didn't do that until the problem came, and now they were looking for government partnership. Okay. So as a business, you have to look at the political factors that may impact you. And that is what these two of decision-making prescribes. The other one is economic. What is economic? We are looking at inflation rate. In Ghana, we look at the exchange rate. All these things affect the business. So if you are making a choice to do business here in this country, and you are using the pest analysis, you have to consider the economic factors, the prices of labor, the prices of, certain things like power or electricity. You have to look at all these economic indicators where you find yourself. The next one is the social factors, which is the behavior and attitudes of your target customers. How do they behave? Are they children or adults? Are they Christians or Muslims? The pest analysis method would lead you to look at some of these factors to be able to make the right choice. So for example, if a business wants to produce, for example, I don't know if this is the right example I should use, but if a business wants to produce, let's say, what is the English name for butter? The one that the Muslims use. What is the name? English name. I know it's butter in fact, but I don't know the English. But you know what I'm talking about. If a business wants to produce that, then they would have to check in the country, do we have more Muslims than Christians or otherwise? Okay, that's the social factors. Are your target market children or adults? Then the technological, okay, which looks at the emerging trends in technology. Okay, all those businesses that were producing typewriter, now I'm not sure any of them is in existence because they've all been relegated to the background because of technology. So that is the pest analysis. It looks at the political, economic, social, and technological factors that can affect the business organization. Well, I don't know, as a student, maybe when you are about to choose your university, you can use the past analysis to take your decision, right? The political nature of the university, the economic issues in that university, and the other social and technological. Okay, please, any question up to this point? Any question? Any question, professors? Please ask me a question. Oh, man. Mama Makasasa, my bread. Okay, so by way of recap, we started with the importance of decision making, which we saw a lot of them. And now we are looking at the tools. Initially, we went through a series of tools, but we are going into details, a few. And one of them is the Pareto analysis. And we've just seen the past analysis. Professors, when we come for the final session, I'll begin to ask questions as to what you have picked from today's lesson. If you have questions, please feel free to ask about what we have discussed so far. If there are no questions, I'll begin my questioning by asking, what is the Pareto analysis technique or method of decision making to you? And this question goes to Emmanuel Kujo. Prof. Emmanuel, what is the Pareto analysis?
Say, please, can you come in?
The Pareto analysis, what is it based on what we discussed on it? Okay, so I'll give my professors the benefit of doubt and use the remaining 3 minutes to quickly summarize what we have done today. And in the next session, I'll ask questions. If you don't give me good feedback on these questions, then I can conclude that you were not paying attention and I'll bite you. I'll bite you online. Okay, so we went through the importance of decision making, right? The significance of decision making. Why is it important to make choices out of numerous options? And one of them is it helps you achieve your goals. The second one is it helps you to solve problems, right? And then we also saw that decision making leads us to efficiently manage our resources. It also helps us to manage risk or potential danger or losses. It is also a way we can effectively lead and manage. So it helps in effectively leading or managing an organization. So these are some of the importance that we looked at. You can seek more importances, from your manuals or whatsoever. Okay. Then we started with the tools for decision making. And we said the tools for decision making simply refers to the methods or techniques. What technique are you using to make a choice out of numerous options? Well, in our normal daily life, sometimes we use some weird tools. For example, you go to a restaurant, they give you the menu, and one of the tools you use to choose or make a choice is you do A, B, C, D, E. Even during exams, you use C, Nanako to settle on one option. So that's your method. Okay, though it might not be recognized as a popular one, right? But the method you use to take a decision is a tool for decision making. And went through some of them, pros and cons, SWOT analysis, multi-voting. But then I want to discuss with you into details, some of them. And the first one we picked was the Pareto analysis, which is the 80-20 rule. 20% causes leading to 80% of problems are what you focus on. And then we just finished up with the past analysis, which looks at the political, economic, social, and technological factors that impact the organization or the business. Professors, we have the others like SWOT analysis, decision matrix, cost-benefit analysis. We'll look at these in our next lessons. But for now, we are wrapping up on this session. Let's join the final session to do some questioning and answers and appreciate the things that we have discussed. So we are going to use the first login details, okay, to join this final session. I would also share the link. Thank you very much, professors. Let's meet in our final session. Bring all the questions that you have so that we can sort it out. I think I'll also comment about the assignment for professors to be able to do it, those who haven't done it. Thank you.